In today's gospel reading, we can have a glimpse of the intensity of the public ministry of Jesus. St. Luke narrates to us that Jesus was teaching in a synagogue on the Sabbath. And when he saw a crippled woman who had been suffering for 18 years, he performed a great miracle that provoked two different reactions. While the woman who was healed by Jesus stood up straight to glorify God, the leader of the synagogue was indignant. He was very angry that Jesus healed on a Sabbath. In this reflection, let us first focus on the reaction of the woman who experienced healing. Regardless of whether or not it was a healing from a physical infirmity, what is crucial is her reaction. As Jesus laid his hands on her, she stood up straight at once and glorified God. Such reaction can be understood as a gesture of gratitude. For a person who is liberated from a miserable condition, thanksgiving is the most logical reaction. But we should not forget that not all who experienced the goodness of God in the person of Jesus glorified God. Some people were just too ungrateful to the Lord. My dear friends, this is the reason why we need to reflect on the reaction of this woman. In life, we experience how Jesus liberates us from our miseries. We are loved and forgiven despite our sinfulness. We are given the grace to overcome our problems. God provides for our needs. However, not all of us know how to be grateful to God. There are even moments when we tend to complain against God. In addition, at times we spend our energy in comparing ourselves to others, that we no longer notice God's blessings before our very eyes. May this woman who was healed by Jesus inspire us to be always grateful to God. Only then can we glorify Him. Second, we focus on the contrasting reaction of the synagogue leader. One would expect that upon seeing the miracle of Jesus, he would also glorify God. But his gaze was totally fixed on the self, that he could no longer see the necessities of other people within his community. He must have thought that he was pleasing the God of Israel by keeping the law al pie de la letra, or following the law to the letter. Little did he know that his encounter with God in the synagogue ought to inspire him to find God in the least of his brothers and sisters. This is another important lesson that we could not miss here. True worship goes hand in hand with mercy. With regard to the synagogue official or religious leader, had he known that mercy is the essence of the Sabbath, he would never have insulted Jesus. He would never have ignored this woman who suffered for 18 years. After all, the term synagogue comes from its Greek origin, synagein, which means not only a place of assembly, but the act of bringing together. Here we can ask ourselves as Christians, have we made our community, the church, an inspiration to bring together the least, the lost, and the last? Aren't we too focused on ourselves that we no longer see the sufferings of other people? If you have been active in social media, you may be aware by now that once again, the statement of Pope Francis has been the subject of heated controversy. Since I haven't watched yet the documentary entitled Francesco, which contains the Pope's exact remark on the issue, I will just share with you my personal opinion. Rather than entering into the details of this heated debate on LGBT, I would like to believe that Pope Francis is not changing the Church teaching on marriage, which is always understood as the indissoluble bond of love between one man and one woman. Moreover, he is not changing the Catholic stance on homosexuality, which is marked by the Church's perennial pastoral thrust we call respect, compassion, and sensitivity. And I don't think he is promoting same-sex civil unions. Our Holy Father's words of hope in his apostolic exhortation, Amoris Laetitia, for those people who are in irregular situations, his delicate pastoral approach to the indigenous people from the Amazonian region, and recently, his clamor for the basic rights of the marginalized sectors of society, all these can be understood as his way of imitating the Via Misericordia, or the way of mercy of our Lord Jesus Christ, the inclusive path of Jesus that can be perceived in the Gospels. Ang simbahan, dili mahimo nga manira sa pultahan sa kaluoy. Tungod kay ang kaluoy sa Ginoo way kinutuban. Ang kaluoy sa Ginoo dili exclusive. We are all children of God. In the Church, no one should be left out. No human right should be discarded. Each one is given a voice. Each one is given the chance to change for the better. Each one ought to be led to Jesus Christ, who is the face of the Father's mercy. As we continue to offer this Holy Mass, we ask for the grace that we may always be grateful to God and that we may be merciful to others. Without these virtues, we can hardly call ourselves disciples of Jesus.